All right, what's up, everybody? Coming to you with my first 2025 mock draft. This is after the combine. This is actually one day before the negotiating period of NFL free agency starts. Getting to the nitty gritty. We're getting close to the draft. God, I can't wait. It's like Christmas to me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Like I said, though, one day before free agency negotiation period starts. Oh, it's going to be crazy. I probably will have another mock draft after like the big wave of free agency hits, so we kind of have a better idea where teams really want to go, especially with like the longer term deals that are signed. And then I plan to have one the week of the draft, the real like final like, yep, this is exactly what I think. This one does not have trades. I think at least one of them. At least one of them I'll have trades in here. And I mean, especially with trades that will happen in the NFL too. We'll see if first rounders get traded, because this is the first time in the Super Bowl era that every team still has its first round pick. So that's exciting. We'll see how. I mean, we'll see how, you know, true that stays the closer we get to the draft. And especially even on draft night, we could get some trades. So, yeah, exciting right now anyway for every team to have its first round pick. Yeah. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? First team got the Tennessee Titans first overall, and they are going to take Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. Obviously, in my opinion, of course. Abdul Carter's a stud. We saw him really come alive in the playoffs, and especially when he got hurt, how badly that defense needed him. Abdul Carter adds a dominant pass rushing side to that Tennessee Titans defense. I think him paired up with Jeffrey Simmons on the defensive front makes them very scary immediately, and this helps all the more with the Titans just recently releasing Harold Landry. I think Abdul Carter is arguably the best player in the draft. We have Mike Borgonzi saying, quote, "We will not pass on what we think is a generational talent." Granted, that could mean Abdul Carter, that could mean Travis Hunter, that could mean even they think one of the quarterbacks is a generational talent. We don't know who that is. We will not know until draft night. But if I had to guess, all signs are kind of pointing toward Abdul Carter right now, who would be a tremendous upgrade to any team, and let alone one that just has needs kind of all over, like the Titans. So I think Abdul Carter, the pick here. Could that change? We'll see. But Abdul Carter, pick to the Titans. Next team we got is the Cleveland Browns. We got them taking our first quarterback off the board with Cam Ward. The Browns are interesting with their quarterback situation because they did just I think they just paid off the rest of the guaranteed money that was owed to Deshaun Watson. So they're getting themselves a little more flexibility there. I don't see them wanting to start Deshaun Watson. I think they will, if they have to. I mean, like let's be honest, they really got themselves into this pickle. I guess I'm trying to not to let my personal feelings get into this, but I don't really know why they gave him that money after all. I mean, after all this stuff, I think Cam Ward gives them the flexibility not only to have their quarterback of the future, but to kind of get themselves away from that Deshaun Watson stigma that they have right now. I think Cam Ward is unanimously viewed as the best quarterback in this draft. I think Shedeur can be close, depending on who you talk to. But I think Cam Ward is unanimously viewed as the top quarterback in this draft. I think that this could even not be a quarterback, depending on how they do feel about Deshaun Watson. If they're like, no, we think he can still give us some good years the remaining of his contract, then hey, they go somewhere else here, like a Travis Hunter maybe. But Cam Ward, I think, is the pick here. Next, we got the New York Football Giants taking the most dynamic player in this draft. I think Travis Hunter is viewed by many as to be the top cornerback. I think you could view Travis Hunter as the top wide receiver as well. I think a team as the Giants that has a few holes to fill, right, gives themselves the flexibility not only to bring in a lockdown cornerback, but maybe if they want to, give themselves like a red zone threat on offense, right? Use them in both ways. I know Travis Hunter wants to go both ways, offense and defense in the NFL. So if the Giants are willing to honor his request, I think that's the way to go, right? Give yourself a lockdown corner, give yourself a red zone threat on offense. I know I've seen guys like Daniel Jeremiah saying, like, he thinks that maybe he'll be more of a offensive heavy guy and put in certain terms on defense. I'm not exactly sure how you do that. I think it's more natural to be like all-time corner and then bang like red zone threat on offense. I know you could definitely give the Giants like Shadur here as their quarterback of the future. I think they will address quarterback and free agency for however long term that goes. Maybe you get somebody like an Aaron Rodgers who gives you a year or two. You sign somebody like Sam Darnold who maybe you think is going to give you the next like 4 years. I could definitely see the Giants going, signing a quarterback in free agency and then maybe even drafting one like the second or third round, somebody like a Jackson Dart, somebody like a Jalen Milroe, somebody like a Dylan Gabriel, depending on how they feel about them. But I think you give yourself just a dynamic playmaker here and Travis Hunter that you can do so many different things with. Next, we got the Patriots taking Will Campbell. I put offensive line because I understand he is projected to be a left tackle, which I can completely see him being a left tackle in the NFL. I know there's a projected thing with like the arm length. That was kind of, if you guys remember, that was Peter Skoronski's thing coming out of Northwestern when the Titans drafted him. It was like, well, he played left tackle in college, but will he translate to a left tackle in the NFL? Now, he became a guard in the NFL. I know his arm length had something to do with that. That is the same question mark on Will Campbell. Will Campbell is advocating for himself, as he should, to be a left tackle. We'll see what the Patriots think. I think if you're going to take him at 4, you got to try him at left tackle. I think you got to. Now, I was tossing it up between taking Will Campbell and the new combine riser and Armand Membu. I sincerely apologize if I'm saying that wrong. They both Campbell and Membo tested so well to the point that the only people that were above them in terms of their, I guess, skill measurements were Trent Williams and Tristan Wirfs in NFL history. And we see how great they both are. I mean, Trent Williams is going to be a Hall of Famer. And Tristan Wirfs has been a stud ever since he's been drafted. So, I think, when they're in that conversation, either one you take a pick on. Like you're just like, you got to feel confident, right? I know nobody's considered safe, but it's two guys where maybe even if they start out slow, because sometimes linemen start out slow, right? They got to develop a little bit. So I think even if they start out slow, don't let that fear you. Don't be like, oh, great, it's going to be a bust. Or it's like, even if you have to give it a year, I think both of them will be great tackles in this league. So I think genuinely it's a toss-up between either one. I think Will Campbell has been like considered to be the higher pick for longer. And if you take that into account, that's the pick here. But you can't really go wrong. So Will Campbell, future New England Patriots left tackle, as of this moment. Next, speaking of safe picks, considered to be the safest pick in this draft, Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan. The Jaguars are building a strong defensive line. You got Josh Allen Hines, who's been a guy for a while now. And people... Here's the thing, right? You get drafted first overall, so you got these unreal expectations on you. And Travon Walker. Travon Walker has been a very solid player since he's been drafted. I know people are like, oh, well, nah, not really. Because you're drafted first overall as an edge rusher, so you're expected to get 15, 20 sacks a season. Travon Walker has some 10-sack seasons. He has been a very good player. Been a very solid player, been a very reliable player. Like I said, the expectations are crazy high, so it kind of sucks for him. It's unrealistic, right? Travon Walker has been a very good player. So you get somebody like Mason Graham who can even continue to take, more eyes away from Josh Allen Hines and more eyes away from Travon Walker. That's only going to help them. And especially in the run game, you gotta just a brick wall of a man and Mason Graham that's not going to let runs go very far at all. You let that D-line keep building up, man. You're going to start winning in the trenches. I'm a firm believer you win in the trenches, right? Got a good O-line, got a good D-line. I mean, you just saw it with the Super Bowl winning Eagles, right? Great, best offensive line in the league. Arguably the best defensive line in the league. You saw what happened. So, Jaguars continue to build in the trenches. There you go. Next up, you got my Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders had a terrible, terrible run game last year. 32nd in the league. Here, you got a guy who is considered to be a generational running back. Somebody you can throw into a conversation like Bijan Robinson. Somebody like Saquon Barkley. I understand these very big shoes to fill. But when you got a team that was just terrible in the run game last year, somebody that wants to continue to build the offensive line like they have last year, they had two rookies that were very good on the offensive line, in Jackson Powers-Johnson and DJ Glaze. You keep building that offensive line up, you get yourself an absolute stud of an athlete in Ashton Jeanty to run the football for you. I mean, it's Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll wants to run the football, right? Don't look at the one play in the Super Bowl. Just let that escape your head. But Pete Carroll wants to run the football, right? You get Ashton Jeanty, you get your offense more dynamic, so it's not just a passing offense, and you just got Geno Smith too, which obviously helps the passing game a ton. So you get somebody like Jeanty, make your offense more dynamic, and then now we go. So I think that would be a great pick. I'm not saying it's the only pick. I think the Raiders could definitely take an offensive lineman. I think they could take somebody like Will Johnson. I think they could take somebody like Tetrone McMillan. I think the Raiders have so many holes that no position is out of the realm of possibility here besides maybe tight end. I think the Raiders go in any direction. I think Jeanty just makes the most sense for them, at least as of right now. So yeah, Jeanty to the Raiders. Next, you got the New York Jets going with Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado. The Jets definitely have a question to answer at quarterback, right? The Aaron Rodgers experiment didn't work. The Zach Wilson experiment didn't work. So, try it again, right? Try to take another solid quarterback in college, whether, people want to say, oh, Shadeur's not that good, or, dude, the numbers speak for themselves, man. Just go back and watch him. He is a good quarterback. He is genuinely a good quarterback. Now, I do think Cam Ward is better, but that's not to say the Jets can't find their long-term answer here in Shedeur Sanders. I think Shedeur could definitely go earlier. I think he'd go to the Jets. I think if the Titans think, maybe they want to take quarterback at 1 with Cam Ward, I think Shedeur could go 2. And who knows? Maybe even the Titans think that, like, yep, Shedeur is our generational guy. We want to take it. I think there are so many picks ahead where Shedeur can go. Just in this sense, in this instance, Shedeur falls to the Jets, and the Jets get their future guy. Number 8, you got the Carolina Panthers. We saw how Bryce Young started to finally kind of come into his own skin, right? Kind of come into his own as a NFL quarterback. Really started to develop last year. You draft Xavier Legette as their first-round guy last year. Obviously, they traded away Jonathan Mingo last season to the Cowboys. Adam Thielen is there as your veteran guy. You get yourself a big wide receiver in Tetrell McMillan. He's like 6'5", 6'6". Obviously, immediately you think that, bang, red zone threat. He can do that. He is a fast wide receiver. He can do anything after the catch. He is just another playmaker to make Bryce Young really become your franchise guy. You keep getting that help around you. I mean, you got a good run game in Chuba Hubbard, and unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL again. You hope he comes back sooner rather than later. I mean, Hubbard, obviously good running back. You get Brooks in the mix when he comes back. You get yourself a dynamic offense. They're working on the offensive line. It's okay. You know, you're hoping like Ika Mikwanu was better by now. You know, but you get yourself another playmaker for Bryce Young, and you hope to watch that offense kind of really become something. So, another playmaker for Bryce Young, definitely not a bad thing. Get yourself McMillan here. Bang. Number 9, the Saints. Here's why I would love this pick if it were to happen. Now, granted, I think in a lot of scenarios, especially if Ward and Sanders are gone, I think you could totally see Tyler Warren go to the Jets. Here's why I'd love to see this happen. Penn State almost kind of used Tyler Warren in almost like a kind of like a Joker sort of role. And who's great at using guys in a Joker sort of role? Saints with Taysom Hill, right? So if you're sitting there and you're like, wow, you know what? We can do this with 2 guys, and Taysom Hill and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren was used, obviously, mostly as their receiver, right? Their leading receiver. So he can catch the football. He can block. Great run blocker. He can, I mean, they had him throw touchdown passes at one point last year. So you can use Tyler Warren in a plethora of ways. And I would love to see the Saints, who already have done it with Taysom Hill, see how they could do it with another guy like Tyler Warren. And at bare minimum, you got yourself another good receiver for, I think, the Saints. Yeah, the Saints just basically came out and said, yep, we're sticking with Derek Carr. So you get Derek Carr, another playmaker to throw to, Chris Olave, Tyler Warren. Let's see what happens. Number 10, you got the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, another guy. I think he kind of got overshadowed by how good Jaden Daniels was, how good Bo Nix started to look. And obviously, like I was just talking about, almost like Trayvon Walker, you know, you're the number 1 pick. The expectations are sky high. Caleb Williams will be fine. I can promise you that. Caleb Williams will be a good quarterback in this league. Bare minimum, he will be a good quarterback. He will be the quarterback of the Bears. Hopefully the next 10 years, right? So, now you start to work on the defense. Defense, kind of a problem last year, right? If you get yourself another explosive edge rusher and getting to the quarterback in Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart, kind of another combine riser, right? Had a really good showing at the combine. Tested really well. Good size. I mean, the beginning of the season, he was being talked about, right? But at the beginning of the college football season, Shamar Stewart wasn't even considered to be the best edge rusher at Texas A&M. That was Nick Scorton. And Nick Scorton, don't get me wrong, still had a good year. Still, I think is going to be a first-round guy. Foreshadowing. Shamar Stewart, freak athlete. I am a guy that likes to bet on freak athletes, especially if you have a coaching staff you are confident in, that you know, like, you know what, I can't wait to see how we can use this guy, see what ways work with him best. Shamar Stewart, I think, could be a very good edge rusher, and I'd like to see the Bears turn him into one. Number 11, you got the 49ers. Now, I was just talking about Armand Membo and how great of a combine guy he was, how much of a freak athlete he tested like. Mostly a right tackle in college. And with a guy like Trent Williams, who, like I said, how I was just saying, he tested like, we don't know how much longer Trent Williams has in this league. Could be a year. I don't know. Could be even 3. Who knows? Armand Membo is your drafting to be your left tackle of the future. So, with right tackle experience in college, you put him a right tackle for now. And when, you have him learn left tackle from Trent Williams, whether it's from afar, whether it is from working directly with him. I think you are drafting him to be your left tackle of the future. I even find it hard to see him falling out of the top 10. Obviously, in this scenario, he does. It's not going to be much farther than that, though. I think top 12 is a lock for Armand Membo. So, 49ers get their left tackle of the future here. Their Trent Williams successor, if you will. Number 12, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Getting more weapons that they so seemingly desperately need. You got CeeDee Lamb, obviously, a top 5 receiver in the league. Will be for years to come. Matthew Golden gives them options in the fact of good route runner. Great. It doesn't drop anything. At least not from what I've seen. Ran a 4.29 at the combine, so there you go. There's your speed option, right? Your deep threat. He can do whatever he asks of you, and especially came into his own in the playoffs, in the college football playoffs last year. Really became like a guy of note. So the Cowboys getting another playmaker here really helps. I think if Genty's still on the board, you can definitely see the Cowboys going Genty. Again, if the Raiders were to pass on Genty, I almost find it hard to believe that the Bears wouldn't take him. But if Genty was here, I think that's a very clear fit for them too. I think even, I know, like I said, it's kind of with, Genty going at 6. Running backs maybe not going as high as they once used to, unless you're kind of a generational guy. I could see Amarian Hampton being a guy that they at least have conversations about here. Amarian Hampton is another great running back out of North Carolina. So, but I think Matthew Golden here gives the Cowboys some options, especially in the receiver room. So, Golden to the Cowboys. Miami Dolphins. Now, here's where I kind of struggle with this one. Safety is not a position that is, I guess, a priority. Now, the Dolphins are a team that know what a good safety, even great safety, can do for you. Having Javon Holland. Now, Javon Holland is leaving. So you slot in Malachi Starks to replace him. Malachi Starks is one of the best players, period, in this draft. The only thing that has him falling is a safety, right? So another guy where, hey, let's see what we can do with this guy to see how we can best utilize him and get the most out of him. He could definitely fall a lot farther than this because he is a safety. Or people will see the athlete in him and just realize how good of a football player that he is. And like I said, Dolphins, they know how good a good safety can be, how positive it can impact your defense, and what it means. And I think Malachi Starks would fit in perfectly with the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see. Colts, Chris Ballard. Name me a better, or no, I'm sorry. Name me a more iconic duo than Chris Ballard and drafting freak athletes. Jahdae Barron is almost kind of like a Kenny Moore to me, which they have, where it's, at least, they know what a Kenny Moore can do for them, right? So, Jahdae Barron, I have him listed as a DB rather than a corner or a safety. I think you can play him in both places. I think you can play him in the nickel. I think you can do everything on the defensive back side of the ball with Jahdae Barron, and I think it's just going to depend what they want to do. I think him going to the Colts would be phenomenal. Like I said, Chris Ballard loves drafting freak athletes. They know what to do with them. And I think that would be a great fit for Barron. I think Barron would be a great fit almost anywhere. But this just seems like a match made in heaven for the Colts. Next, you got the Falcons taking Jahad Campbell at linebacker. Campbell, phenomenal run stopper. Phenomenal run stopper. Big dude. Doesn't let anybody get by him. Great tackler. Could use some work in the pass game. I think they can develop that. I think Raheem Morris, being a defensive-minded head coach, can get the most out of him. I think this is a good fit for Jahad Campbell, and I think this is a good fit for the Falcons. Freak athlete. I know I sound a lot of redundant. There's just a lot of guys who are freak athletes now, and it's just hard to get away from that. But I really think this is a good fit for each other. I think Jahad Campbell can really develop underneath Raheem Morris's team, especially, like I said, as a defensive-minded guy. So, I would love to see this pairing happen. 16, you got the Cardinals taking Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State. I flip-flop back and forth a lot on this, going between tackle or a defensive line for the Cardinals. Now, I know it hasn't happened. I know I said I will release one when we see it happens. Just prediction alone, I really see the Cardinals kind of hammering defensive line in free agency, especially for years to come. But also, I think tackle is the bigger need. And with that being said, another flip-flop that I had was between Josh Simmons and Calvin Banks. Why I picked Josh Simmons is he has more experience playing right tackle. I think it'll be more of a seamless fit for him going to right tackle. He played right tackle in 2022 when Paris Johnson was at Ohio State. And wow, look at that. They can be teammates again. I think Josh Simmons, good fit here. I think the Cardinals will utilize him in the best way possible. And you get another Paris Johnson, Josh Simmons bookend tackle. So yeah. Bengals getting a Emeka Egbuka. Now, I did not mention this earlier, even though I probably should have. This is being made after the Myles Garrett signing. Why I bring that up now is because that will indeed affect the rest of the non-quarterback market. As in, Jamar Chase is going to get paid. Right? So, that means it would be extremely difficult to envision a world where the Bengals give Jamar Chase $35+ million a year and they give T. Higgins $30 million+ a year. I just don't see it happening. I think T. Higgins will get traded, and I think you get yourself a very solid wide receiver 2 in Emeka Egbuka. I think if he doesn't go here, he goes to a division rival in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Could definitely happen. But I think the Bengals try to be proactive here and get themselves another wide receiver 2 in Emeka Egbuka before you have to make that difficult decision if you have to let T. Higgins go. Number 18, you got the Seattle Seahawks. There's just some names that... I don't know if this happens with you guys. There's just some names that to me are like, yep, he is a whatever team, right? In this instance, to me, I'm like, Mike Green, Seahawk. It just makes too much sense, in my opinion, with the Seahawks needing edge guys. They're good on the interior, right? I mean, they just re-signed Jaron Reed to a 3-year extension. So whereas you got the interior kind of good and locked up, ready to go, you got to get another guy on the edge, right, to rush the quarterback. Mike Green had a phenomenal showing at the Senior Bowl. really kind of made a name for himself there. I mean, of course, Marshall, before the Senior Bowl, I think Mike Green, more so like a second round pick, has a phenomenal season at Marshall, has a great showing at the Senior Bowl that really gets him into the first round conversation. And he ends up here at Seattle, pick 18. 19, Buccaneers with Will Johnson. Will Johnson can go anywhere, in my opinion, from 6 to like 25. The only thing hindering Will Johnson is his injury history. Arguably the top cornerback in college football this last year. I think if you're the Buccaneers, you are very happy that Will Johnson falls into your lap here. Gives you a lockdown, what potentially lockdown top 10 cornerback in the league. Here, I think he just has a very high floor, so you're very comfortable with picking him, especially at 19. So, getting Will Johnson to the Bucs at a need that they have, and arguably the best player available, win-win for the Bucs and Will Johnson here. Number 20, got the Denver Broncos. This pick is kind of funny to me. I say that because I think Colson Loveland ends up in the AFC West regardless. I think if he doesn't go here, he absolutely goes to the Chargers. 2 reasons. 1, Colson Loveland played with Jim Harbaugh, right? But they also, both the Broncos and Chargers, both have a need at tight end. Not only are you getting a tight end, somebody that can block, you're getting a very dynamic receiver in Colson Loveland that can do a lot for you on the receiving end of the ball. You get Bo Nix, another top target, to pair with Cortland Sutton. I think if there is a guy here that you view as a top wide receiver, like Luther Burden's still on the board, right? So maybe the Broncos are like, nope, we think Luther Burden works for our defense, for our offense better instead of Colson Loveland. You get him, but Colson Loveland fills both a blocking tight end need, but also that is kind of a part of his game that maybe he can develop. But he is more so a receiving tight end, and you get that here with Colson Loveland. 21, you got the Steelers taking Jalen Walker. I completely understand that Jalen Walker could be a top 10 pick, and rightfully so. I think he can go much earlier than this. Why I think this is a great need, why I think this is a great pick, is a couple reasons. 1, I know I don't have it listed on here, but linebacker could be seen as a need for the Steelers, but also Steelers and linebackers go together like peanut butter and jelly. I swear the Steelers have been taking great linebackers since the beginning of the NFL. Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, TJ Watt, list goes on and on, right? I think Jalen Walker just adds to that list of great Steeler linebackers. Jalen Walker, and I know I keep sounding redundant, freak athlete, just would fit perfectly in that Steeler system. I truly believe that if this happens, that is arguably the best pairing of this draft. 22, got the next running back coming off the board. The Chargers take Omari and Hampton. I know I just talked a lot about maybe him going to the Cowboys. With that being said, Hampton, dynamic playmaker. A lot of these guys now know they have to be both a good running back and both a good pass catcher. I think Hampton shows that, honestly, more in the pass catching game than Genti does, right? Like, you see Ashton Genti as a more of just a pure running back, whereas Hampton can give you both a great running back and also a player in the pass game where he wants and shows that he can be on the field all 3 downs. He gives you a lot of options. So, as a Raiders fan, would I hate it if the Chargers got him? Yes. But I also think that Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert getting another dynamic playmaker on that offense would really improve that offense. Number 23, you got the Packers taking Mykel Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia. Georgia just breeds defensive players like it's their job, and it kind of is. I don't think we've seen recently that you can even go wrong with taking a Georgia defensive player. It just seems like they all work out. If you're the Eagles, you're pissed off here, obviously. But the Packers getting more of an edge rushing guy, you know, that they lost on after they lost Zadarius Smith. Preston Smith, not the same guy that they once signed. Obviously, he's aging. But getting another dynamic edge rusher. Oh, and also, Lucas Van Ness hasn't really played to the potential that they were hoping for. So getting another athletic freak in Mykel Williams to the Packers dramatically improves their pass rush. Gets the quarterback more. Add to this already young team to another young guy. And yeah, make that pass rush better. Vikings. This is a toss-up for me between Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. They're very, very close to me. I think the thing that almost kind of hurts Kenneth Grant is having Mason Graham there, but also kind of helps him in a way. Walter Nolan, kind of another guy that kind of came into his own especially toward the end of last season. Really, really improved his draft stock. I think you just get a solid defensive tackle here, man. Walter Nolan can very much help you. Not only just help on rundowns, help your edge rushers get to the quarterback. Even Walter Nolan himself can get to the quarterback every once in a while. So you have mostly a brick wall that helps solidify an already very good defense in the Vikings. And wow, speak of the double and a shell up here. Kenneth Grant to the Texans at 25. Another kind of the same thing with the Vikings, right? You got some good edge rushers and an already solid, a solid defense that was full of a lot of young guys that, like, surprisingly were very good. As you know, I mean, a pleasant surprise, obviously. Especially your DBs last year, like Kalen Bullock, kind of almost seemingly being out of nowhere as a rookie as your third round pick, I think. Derek Stingley becoming one of the top cornerbacks in the league. You get another guy that can not only help your edge rushers get to the quarterback, but help your DBs just stay locked down like they were last year. I think getting a solid defensive tackle here does nothing but good things for that Texans defense. 26, we got the Rams. You know, I know they had a first-round pick last year, but it's still kind of funny just getting used to the Rams having a first-round pick. Kelvin Banks Jr., another guy that could absolutely go higher than this. For the Rams, bringing back Matthew Stafford, right? We started to have a little bit of an issue for the Rams, protecting Matthew Stafford. They are really trying to lock it down. They already signed Alaric Jackson to an extension. You get another who should be a plug-and-play tackle from the beginning in Kelvin Banks. Put him left obviously, more of a natural left tackle. Played only left tackle at Texas. I'm sure he could play right tackle if you really needed him to. Kelvin Banks, just another guy, like I said, plug and play. Give Matthew Stafford more protection. Give him more time to throw to his receivers. I think this would be a great pick. Number 27, you got the Ravens. Here's an issue that I seem to have with the Ravens. Not their team. I do not have an issue with the Ravens as a team. The thing I have with the Ravens in the draft is it always seems like there is somebody that should have gone way earlier that just falls right into the Ravens' lap waiting for them. Now, I know there is reports and, things coming out about James Pierce's character, that he may have a character concern. His play on the field speaks for itself. I think if, maybe you're a team that you're like, I don't really see the character concerns, or, hey, this is something that can be fixed, and you're a team at 27 thinking he should have gone much higher, why not take James Pierce, especially for a need, right? Ravens started not necessarily get to the quarterback as much. Last year, I think in the playoff game against the Bills, there was maybe a sack, maybe two. But a guy that can help you get many more sacks, not just during the season, but during games. And a freak athlete, too. He ran a 4.7 during the combine? I mean, come on, man. Really? Even if he's not a big, like, bull rusher guy, a more kind of bendy, twitchy, just speed rusher off the edge will always help a team. Always. Can't have enough edge rushers. Speaking of edge rushers, number 28, the Lions. Losing Aiden Hutchinson last year, saying it hurt would be a massive understatement. Obviously, the Lions had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball last year. And I think one thing that they will do just kind of regardless this year is just address depth. Now, I think Nick Scorton could definitely be another guy where you plug and play. He's there day one, your starter, right? Opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Not only did not only losing Aiden Hutchinson hurt, but it kind of showed the lack thereof pass rush after him. So this gives you another guy for 4 to 5 years to come. You got a guy opposite of Aiden Hutchinson that is going to help rush the quarterback and just create nightmares for opposing offenses. 29, you got a recent riser, mostly due to the Senior Bowl. Gray Zabel, tackle out of North Dakota State, going to the Commanders. Now, if you're like me, you didn't watch a whole lot of North Dakota State football last year. You just know that they're good, right? And it just seems like they breed offensive linemen. And quarterbacks, funny enough. But Gray Zabel, recent riser, had a very, very good Senior Bowl going to the Commanders. I think it's kind of funny, like you get Jaden Daniels last year. That makes that team very good. They go to the NFC Championship game, and they still have a lot of money, a lot of draft picks to play around with. I'm very excited to see this offseason just in general for the Commanders. But, hey, you know what? We got our face of the franchise for 10, 15 years to come in Jaden Daniels. You got to make sure he stays healthy so you get another tackle to make sure he stays protected in Gray Zabel. Number 30, you got the Buffalo Bills taking Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. Luther Burden is another guy that could absolutely be gone in the top 15 picks. Obviously, in this case, he is still there at 30, and the Bills cash in on it. I think if you're the Bills, you are ecstatic to have Luther Burden fall into your lap at 30. Whereas a team, you got Khalil Shakir, who just inked a new contract extension. Very, very solid receiver in the slot there. So now what you're doing, right? You got your slot guy in Khalil Shakir. Now you need boundary wide receivers. You need guys with speed. You need guys who can get open down the field. You need guys who can just run after the catch. Somebody to get the, no pun intended, but to take the burden off of Josh Allen. So much. We know what Josh Allen can do. He can do everything, right? So, get another guy that Josh Allen can reliably throw to at any point in the game, anywhere down the field, and just be another playmaker for that Bills offense. Luther Burden. Number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs taking Derek Harmon. Here's something we would all hate. The Chiefs taking a guy that looks and plays a lot like DeForest Buckner. Funny enough, both out of Oregon. Derek Harmon, huge, like 6'5", 310, 320. Just plays like an absolute monster. Can get to the quarterback. It's an absolute brick wall against the run. And then the Chiefs had two just absolute beasts of defensive tackles in Derek Harmon and Chris Jones. I mean, you see it. Like, George Karlaftis is a guy that has come into his own, right? They're great at developing linebackers. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo knows what he is doing. Yeah, so getting a guy that has a... From what I watching Oregon, just... I see a lot of DeForest Buckner there. And as a college football fan, and just a guy who loves to see guys wrecking havoc, I love to see it, right? I love to see another DeForest Buckner-esque guy in the league wrecking havoc. But as a Raiders fan, I would hate to see that. But Derek Harmon's a beast. So, yeah, Chiefs, Derek Harmon. And last pick of the first round, you got the Philadelphia Eagles taking Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. Not a great interior offensive line class. You can find some guys to play tackle, absolutely. Tyler Booker has been a riser lately. Just watching game film on him, he just doesn't let anything by him. And as a team like the Eagles, one, you got Jeff Stoutland, right, as your offensive line coach, who is the best offensive line coach in the league. I'm convinced can make... I mean, you just had Mekhi Becton come in, and they were like, you know what, we're going to shift you from tackle to guard. And Becton has a great season. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to command a lot of money. The Eagles did that, right? So, the Eagles take a guy from Alabama. I know he's going to have a lot of enemies on the team. Being from Bama, not Georgia, of course, you know, the SEC thing. But Tyler Booker, just another solid offensive lineman. The Eagles will turn into a stud, I'm sure of it. And another guy who is going to help the Eagles' run game with Saquon Barkley. Another guy who is just going to add to the just beast of an offensive line the Eagles have and will seemingly continue to have for years to come. So, that's going to be insane. But, thank you guys for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I would love, genuinely, whether it is, I hope it's positive or negative, to just hear your thoughts in the comment section. This draft is so interesting because the guy you get at 10 could be very, very similar quality play-wise just to the same guy you get at 32, right? So I think a lot of these picks are interchangeable. I think a guy that goes at 11 could go at 22. I think a guy that goes at 25 could go at 14. Just so many interchangeable guys, so many beasts, so many freak athletes. Like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear, maybe your favorite team. Like, hey, I didn't have that guy going to my team. I had this guy going here because X, Y, and Z, right? I really, really want to hear your feedback because I can take it, into my own account being like, you know what, you got a great point. And maybe, who knows, in the next one, I'm like, you know what, these examples are great. And maybe even some free agency things or like why I changed it. But, who knows, maybe you get, I get some suggestions pointed out from you guys that are like, hey, this is why I think this guy goes here. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know why I didn't think about that. That's a great suggestion. So I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear from you guys. I want to go back and forth on it too. So, yeah. Feedback, constructive criticism, always wanted, always appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I will definitely be releasing another post-free agency one. Peace.